Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Reddit Aliens. I'm John, and as always, thank you so much for being here. Good topic for you today. Let's do it. What's something that someone did that convinced you that they are a total psychopath? Please remember to like, share, hype, and subscribe. Knew a guy who praised his supervisor, called him a mentor. Not even a year later, the guy completely assumed his supervisor's life, slept with his wife, and incited their divorce, championed for full custody of his Soup's kids, and had them call him dad, took over Soup's position at work after the guy was so stressed with the custody battle, he requested a different post. Wife got the house in the divorce, so all that too, if I recall correctly. It has been 4 years, and they're still in and out of court. At a daycare I used to work in, there was this stepmom. Whenever she'd pick up her 3-year-old stepdaughter, she was the nastiest lady in the world. We had to watch what we said to her because any negative meant that little girl got punished. For example, we said she pushed another kid and the stepmom gave this little girl a spanking. She used to do other weird things too. Like, even though this girl was fully potty trained, she insisted we put her in a diaper before she picked her up. If we didn't, it was the first thing she did. Not like a pull-up either, an actual baby diaper. We were convinced it was just to humiliate her. She had this shit-eating grin when she would do it too. We told this to the little girl's dad and he just never believed it. Then they came to pick her up together. Instead of this mean lady, it was like Mary Poppins showed up. Complete 180 attitude change. The next day, right back to it. I was with my BFF and she wanted to go back roading with a couple of guys she knew. Sure, fine, whatever. We get in the Bronco and hit the dirt back roads while listening to music. All of a sudden, the truck comes to a stop and they yell possum and run out of the truck. I got out because I thought they saw an injured possum and I wanted to help. Nope. They wanted to stomp it to death, and they did. Even with me screaming and crying. My friend tried to blow it off as no big deal. I told them to take me back because I wanted to go home, but they wouldn't. I had to sit in that truck with those jerks until they were ready to call it a night. I did everything possible to ruin their night just so it would end and I could come home. I've never seen someone take so much pleasure in violently killing a helpless animal that did nothing wrong. My estranged mother bought cats solely because she planned to kill them. She didn't want my younger brother growing up a pussy because he dared to cry over his goldfish when he was like 6. Also, the weirdo years later threw the cat out the street because she was tired of it trying to sneak out her legs onto the porch. Left it starving for several weeks outside to get hurt by other cats, and then by the time she let her back in, she threw it out again, claiming it pissed on a loaf. Whole time she knew she locked it in the bathroom without anywhere to use the bathroom, so she was just looking for an excuse because she didn't even give the cat a litter box. Every time I think about that cat, I remember how it really drives me to never consider her any sort of a family again. Whoa. Who I thought my boyfriend was instead a married serial cheater. He had an affair baby, meanwhile his wife was battling cancer. His family helped him to cover the existence of the baby. His best friend constantly cheats on his girlfriend, and they're going to get married soon. Story from a friend's relationship with her now ex-boyfriend. During some of their rough patches, he surprised her with a dog to try to rekindle the love in the relationship. When she finally decided to split with him, he threatened to abandon the dog on the side of the road if she didn't stay because he had no use for this dog anymore. He really used the dog as leverage if she ever tried to leave him. Nice. My last boss. A property developer once told me in a one-on-one chat that on the weekend he had been watching documentaries about her to learn about leadership. You know, how to get people to do things and motivate them. I wish to this day I'd have my phone on record. He also fired 40 people after COVID hit, and his PA told me he bought a Rolls Royce soon after. Last Friday of each month, he and his missus, who also worked with us, would disappear for the afternoon. His PA told me that was when they went to get Botox, laser treatments, and so on. His business has since gone under. I've taught a young girl who I suspect is a psychopath aged 4, swearing, physical outbursts, biting, spitting, kicking, attacking other children out of nowhere. She put her baby brother in the oven, has tried to set fire to their house on numerous occasions, throws rocks at cars, strangled rabbits, ripped feathers from birds, and killed them. An absolute unit. This was happening from before kindergarten age. She would openly share how she was going to kill her siblings by throwing them out of windows, running them over, pushing them in front of cars, etc. All avenues of help were useless. She would attack adults too. She was declined schooling, health camps, etc. The only option her mom had for help was to drag her into a zombie-like state. The rationale for her out-of-control behaviors was mom did drugs whilst pregnant, and the child was wired wrong. Heartbreaking stuff despite numerous interventions. I would expect that she will murder someone before long and be institutionalized. She's 10 now and a major menace to authorities. It wasn't one thing but the sum of things. Complete lack of true empathy and the eerie way they act like they have empathy in tragic situations. A ton of casual lies and extremely charming front, the sudden violence, their sometimes dead eyes, their next level scheming to hurt people who threaten them, the lack of any kind of guilt or shame, the enjoyment of confrontation, the easy moving on from one relationship to the next once people see past their facade and their skills in manipulating those who don't. The way she was able to instantly change her character whenever she was in front of someone else. She would turn on the charm and suddenly become the loving teacher that everyone believed she was, while behind closed doors, she was the world's most horrific child abuser. It was almost surreal watching how quickly she was able to change her personality to be someone that everyone loved and admired. 5th grade was at this girl's sleepover where she said her and her cousin found kittens and put them in a cooler and forgot about them. When they remembered to check the cooler, they were dead. She laughed like it was the funniest thing ever. That's when I no longer liked her. I don't think she understood that that was the reason I became distant from her at school. My cheating ex-girlfriend, who constantly accused me of cheating, punched me in the face while I was driving down the 405 freeway, then grabbed the steering wheel and tried to run us off the road. It started with another argument about accusing me of cheating because I worked 12-hour night shifts, 4 p.m. to 4 a.m., while going to college, and didn't have a lot of time to hang out with her. Then she called her mom crying and told her I was the one who tried to run us off the road. Her parents paid her half of the rent and her college tuition, but I had to work for mine. So, while I worked my ass off paying for bills and college, she would cheat on me, and then scream at me and hit me over cheating on her as soon as I got home. The only reason she thought I was a cheater is because I would get compliments from other girls in public while we were out together, and I would occasionally stay at a male friend's house after she screamed at me and constantly hit me. I never once cheated. My conscience would never allow me. I worked with a girl who scammed a guy for $10,000 in a green card marriage deal. She backed out as soon as he gave her the money. She had a teacup Pomeranian that her drug dealer baby daddy stole from someone's yard. Her grandfather leased a Kia for her, but after driving it for a few months, she felt the car was beneath her and just drove it back to the dealership and left it there. I noticed several times where she would be talking to someone and her facial expressions and body language would be off, like the person would be telling a sad personal story and she would be smiling about it. I worked with a guy, let's call him Steve. Steve was always screwing around at work, seemed to not care about anything and would never take accountability. He slept with a coworker who was, in my opinion, kind of vulnerable, then ghosted her despite working 10 meters away from her. Then said she was crazy and he'd never touch her. The girl he slept with was the kindest, if not a bit naive girl you'll ever meet. We all knew he was talking shit. He'd continuously talk about shit like how he'd changed his name to avoid child support, or when child support caught up with him, he went and bought a Mac so he had no money to pay under some presumption that it was a way to get out of paying, then sold the Mac for cash to survive the month. Eventually, work would pay his salary directly to child support. Anyway, we both applied for the same internal role. We were both interviewed. I got a call from the boss saying I got the job. A few minutes later, Steve called and congratulated me. I'm like, cheers, man, appreciate it. Then I get a message from the boss saying, don't tell Steve you got the job because we'll tell him tomorrow face to face. I'm like, he just congratulated me. Boss says it's impossible he knows. Gur played me for info and left when it clicked. You're an actual psycho. Anyway, you, Steve, you were the most weird douche I've ever worked with. A little girl who lived near me, she tried to push my daughter down the stairs without any reason. Pushed a child on the playground off the top of the slide sideways without any reason. Sat on my child's head and held them underwater while smiling at me as I frantically tried to get her off my child and told her she was hurting them. Destroyed things in my home while visiting, such as drawing on the walls, ripping apart things and throwing things in the garbage when she was told she couldn't have it. Biting children past an acceptable age. She tried to sit on her brother's head, according to her parents, even after she was told it was hurting him. Decided she wanted to swing from another child, pushed her from behind off the swing, and proceeded to rip out her hair and punch her in the back of the head as the child was lying on the ground. Constant problems at school from hurting other children. Her mom told me she was only little and she didn't understand. Later told me they were working on it. I think the child needs a professional. When I was a journalist, I was at an inquest. A witness came in and sat next to me. I got a really bad vibe from him. He made a joke to the clerk about it getting him out of work. Thought that was weird considering the circumstances. Then I saw a tiny bug crawling across the table. I hoped he wouldn't notice it for some reason, but he did. And then he slowly and deliberately crushed it with his thumb, which he then turned over to inspect. I just had a really bad gut feeling about him. Like the lizard brain part of my body was telling me to get ready to run. A woman I worked with went on maternity leave about a week before her due date. Tragically, the baby died during delivery. This meant that her maternity leave ended and she went on bereavement leave. In other words, she would soon be returning to work. The person who had been given the opportunity to cover her maternity leave complained to HR. She complained that it wasn't fair that just because a baby died, she would miss out on the professional development and salary increase she would have gotten while covering the mat leave. She said that she should be allowed to finish the originally scheduled mat leave assignment, and that the woman who'd lost her baby should have to either take unpaid leave or work in a lower paying job. Wow.
Yeah, that lady sounds absolutely horrible. I've had some bad coworkers, managers up and down the chain, but that one might take the cake. That is a completely out of touch human being, so I hope they're not with the company anymore.
I caught a close friend of 2 years burying evidence of a pedo on a Discord server. I blew up at her for it, and she framed the entire thing as my fault. I lost my entire community, which I built over it. It was the worst thing that's ever happened to me. I still have no idea why she did it. When I was like 15, I went to military camp and made friends with a girl there, and she was so cool and I really liked her, until we were outside one day in the grass and she caught a grasshopper or something, and she started ripping its legs and arms off one at a time and watching it struggle in between, and then chopping its body up with a twig, being like, yeah, the whole time. And I was immediately disgusted and weirded out. I accidentally left this as a reply on someone's comment and quickly deleted it. My bad. Was having a conversation with a rich guy. He said that he and his grandfather had companies where they ventured into things like mercenary work, online gambling sites, casinos, etc. When I asked him whether or not he feels guilty for doing these shady things, he said that he doesn't care about commoners, and he outright said that he only cares about things which give him financial utility. He also added that his grandfather was going to give him control of the companies after he died, and not to his father, because his father was seen as too weak and soft to run the businesses. I'm assuming he meant that his father actually had empathy, unlike the two of them. Back when my friend group was all 18 to 19, legal drinking age in the UK, we went to the city centre to get drunk. After going to a few bars and clubs, we got some food at McDonald's. One of my friends at the time threw up in the paper bag. He then saw a homeless man and gave him the bag, to which the man thought he had been gifted food and thanked him. My heart died a little from being too young and shocked. Just left the scene with the group. My friend was the only one laughing. The others mentioned that that was wrong and messed up, but he shook it off. Glad he's not my friend anymore. When I was a kid, my dad married a woman that had 2 sons. They had a pet chinchilla. The oldest son, around 12 at the time, abused the chinchilla. He would throw it off the top of their bunk bed and laugh about it, while the younger son cried. He did this a lot and abused other animals as well. When I learned my ex-husband was cheating on me, he turned it around with a fake suicide attempt so he could be the victim. Instead of comforting me or apologizing after that, he wanted to stay married. He kept trying to play the victim. I found he had cheated with several women over at least 6 years and wanted me to forgive him. But my sin of telling our spiritual leader about it was unforgivable, among many other things. Thought I had a perfect marriage, and he was everyone's favorite person. But none of his charm was genuine. Scary that I thought I knew him. Known a family member who got a dog thinking it was a cool breed, never trained it past basic commands, was dog with separation anxiety that he would take anger out on if it made a mess, would lock it up in a crate all day when out from work, and the dog break through the metal crates, even if the dog got cut up, would never take it out for walks, just let it out the backyard when I would try to take it near daily for runs, and because of this, when moving, didn't want to pay fee for listing it online, so gave it to the pound with a bite history to get rid of it. There's so much more and worse stuff. Could write a book about this person too, and was told this by friends. When I was a kid, I was a voracious reader. I started very young, and it was my favorite thing to do. I constantly had a book in my hand and read everything. I'd even go to sleepovers and parties and spend all night reading my friends' books. I was completely addicted. I was also able to come up with extremely creative stories off the cuff to entertain people. My father didn't like that I read that much. One day he called me to his room. It was filled with garbage bags. I don't quite remember what he told me. It doesn't really matter. He was holding one of my books, and he threw it into the fire, The Count of Monte Cristo. I was rooted to the spot, horrified, watching as he continued to throw books into the fire. It was taking too long, so he told my mom to throw away the rest. A sickening realization dawned upon me as I realized that those garbage bags held all of my books. They weren't just books to me. They were my friends. Something inside me died that day.